Hi, I'm Ken and May from Bagogames, and this is...
Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm from SciTech Games, and our game today is Windlands. Just behind us here on the thing, we got a stand with 4 PlayStation 4 VR headsets, and it's going well, sir.
Would you mind explaining what Windlands is?
Yeah, so it's a VR game where you're exploring a big open world. There's lots of platforms and things, and you're exploring it by using these grappling hooks. And you fire them up, and you sort of fly around the world, and you're exploring it, trying to find out why it's deserted or broken, there's no one around, what happened to all the people. But mainly just enjoying swinging around. Some people have said it's like the closest you can get to being Spider-Man. Something like that. It's that sort of swinging around sort of experience.
Yeah. So you were saying that it's like Spider-Man, but you're flying around through the ruins, sort of exploring what might have happened before, it became a ruined land. And needless to say, the Windlands is very kind of isolationist. It's the only hint of any life is these projections. What was the reasoning behind setting the environment as such?
So the experience is very much a solitary one, and it's not one where you're fighting monsters and that kind of thing. It's very much it's kind of, some people find it quite relaxing, really, just sort of swinging around the world and all that sort of thing. So it doesn't lend itself to having like lots of enemies that you fight, and we don't want it to be that way. There's no need to have lots of monsters around, things like that. There's some birds around and things like that, but because the gameplay is quite a solitary, relaxing, or quite sort of melancholy in a certain sort of way, having it deserted and everything like that kind of helps with that feeling, and certainly being able to view this big massive area really far into the distance and find your way around there. Sort of, adds a certain sort of tone to the gameplay.
So, when I was playing through Windlands, it seemed very set up for speedrunning, and I noticed this sort of culture that sort of happens where people speedrun as fast as possible. In fact, they have these like summer events where they sort of go as fast as they can through various games.
Yeah.
So I was wondering how Windlands is set up to sort of aid those who want to speed run through it.
Sure. Yeah, we did when we started making the game. It was very much like an open world sort of thing, and I think we quickly realised people quite enjoy trying to get everything done as quickly as possible. There'll be streamers who would do that. They would be going through and quickly trying to get it. And we quickly realised, if we can cater to that, we can do something to that, and what can we do? And I think we did 2 ways. There is a timer in the game, so you can't time yourself through it and do an actual speed run of the full game, but we also have challenge maps. So, as well as the 3 main worlds, there's smaller little break-off challenge maps that you can go to separately, and they're set up specifically for speed running. So they have timers, and there's actual world leaderboards online you can go to and check your score against other people and that kind of thing. There are a few people that really go for it. So having those, there's like 6 of them, like 2 for each of the worlds themed, a jungle or a city, that kind of thing. And they've each got a slightly different focus. So hopefully that's enough for people who want to speed run and challenge themselves to get something out of it.
So there's like different variations of sort of trying to speed run through it, like somewhere it's like easier, but it's all about getting through as quickly as you can, and others where it's like more skill based, you have to nail the right paths, or more open-ended where you have to pick the optimal path for it.
Yeah, I mean mainly it's trying to get through the particular challenges as quickly as possible. One of them is free run. It's more like there's not actually any hook shots, and it's basically just a parkour type thing where you bounce off walls or jump between spaces, and it's very tricky to do some of those wall jumps because it'll bounce. I mean that particular one I have a lot of trouble with. It's very challenging.
Yeah.
That's good. Some people do very well at it and just want to shave those seconds.
Yeah, so it's like Mirror's Edge or Lemma or something like that.
That kind of thing,
Yeah, awesome. While on the subject of sort of community-based interaction, I was wondering if Windlands is set up for modding communities, sort of like level design, community created content, maybe Steam Workshop, that kind of thing?
We're not. No, I think the technical challenges of building the levels, the way we build them, they require sort of like light baking and other things to just technically work.
Yeah.
There's not really set up for it. I think maybe in the future it's something we could definitely consider, like a future sequel or something like that. It's not something we're currently considering, but certainly like things where it's more multiplayer or multi-user is something we're considering for future plans. But I think it's one thing we hear quite a lot is people they like the idea of swinging through worlds together, or at least if you're doing a time trial or trying to do get to a certain point quicker, to be in the same world together will probably be a kind of cool thing to happen. So we're considering that for future plans.
Speaking of future plans, so Windlands is soon coming out for PS4 with PSVR in mind. When is that, by the way?
So we want to be out for PSVR launch. We're currently going through the final testing stages, and if we can get through that quickly enough, then there's a really good chance we'll be there at launch. It may be though that it takes a bit longer and we're just within the launch window, so that's what we're aiming at. Certainly the launch window, the first few weeks of launch.
Okay. And beyond that, is there any future plans? Like you were talking about the possibility of a sequel or other content. I think you even mentioned multiplayer. So what's next on the development map?
We're currently looking, like Windlands is really good. We've had such great reaction for it. We're obviously focused on getting the PSVR version done. So once that's finished, we'll be looking at future plans. I certainly think Windlands were pursuing into the future, and when people say things like we would like to see multiplayer or we would like to see this type of gameplay, that's certainly things we're listening to very fervently, and we want to consider the best thing for whatever we do going forward.
So earlier I was asking about level design and sort of how you would make it for the speedrunning community, and another aspect of level design that I find interesting is the VR aspect. If the nature of it being a VR game might have changed the level design concerns and priorities and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, VR is so kind of all-encompassing in terms of design changes. Because in most games, you don't typically look up. You don't typically look down. First-person platforming is not usually something that's a good idea. You take blind leaps forward and you get no sense of where you're landing. Whereas in VR, you can literally look down and see where you're landing. There's not too much actual platforming in Windlands, a lot more of this. But being able to look up and shoot up there and shoot there, and it's a very vertical game in that sense. But even from the sense of the presentation, we've got a big Titan type robot that you see just as you're exiting the first room. And that is there because it's a big spectacle moment to come out to. In VR, you see a big robot, and it's like, whoa, what's this world? And seeing stuff go into the distance, and having that view, where you can go, just so much more impact in VR. It's one of those things, though. I think Windlands as a design, the way you play the game would probably be pretty similar, even if it wasn't in VR. But I guess there will be, I don't know, because when you're stuck in the middle of it and you're making something for VR when it's like that, there's certain things that's naturally done. Maybe they would be different on non-VR, but yeah, there are certain choices made for sure, based upon the spectacle, the layout, and the verticality.
Yeah, so like you were saying, that spectacles are a lot more impactful, where you can hook the player a lot more into the game by saying, okay, there's this big moving robot, would you like to explore the land revolving around that robot? It kind of makes it a lot more impressive, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think if it wasn't in VR, you would be less inclined to put some of those elements in, but because it is, there's definitely certain things that you're like, that would be a really great place to have this. And when you test things out, you're like, oh, you know what, that would look even better if we did it this way. So it definitely impacts. I mean, certainly any game that is going to be in VR wants to be designed for VR. I think that's why you get a lot of games that are kind of converted across to VR aren't as successful. They're not as nice as VR. It's just kind of design philosophy you have to go down.
So you have to sort of design the game around VR rather than porting it, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you were talking about how you have to design a game around VR, one of the prevailing ongoing kind of concerns around VR is the idea of motion sickness. Like, a personal example was I once tried the demo of the assembly and just came out completely nauseous and ill, and you know, they tried to fix it. I don't know if they have. Just I tried it at an event, it wasn't good. How has your game tried to avoid feelings of motion sickness?
So yeah, like movement in VR is tricky, and I think some people get discomfort more than others through moving around. Some games are more susceptible to discomfort and sort of that kind of motion sickness. I think the great thing about VR is for a game with so much movement, the ability to fly through the air, it's surprisingly comfortable. And I think people try it, you know, thinking it might not. And actually, because you're flying through the air, most of the time you're experiencing this kind of world sort of slowly moving past. It's not near you. You're quite far away from it. So the way you're experiencing the world is actually quite gentle. And the motion, you know, you might get walking along in a game, you might get discomfort feeling the ground passing you in a certain way. The ground's much further away when you're in Windlands because you're flying through the air. So it's one of those things that we're very, very aware of, but we also have a bunch of comfort options. So as you start the game, it gives you certain options on how you might want to experience the game. You can just comfort turning or smooth turning. And then there's a cage option, which basically works. The concept is if you're in a cockpit, for instance, you've got a fixed frame of reference. So your world is this kind of cage in front of you here, whereas the world around you that's moving, you can kind of process that differently. You're staying still, it's just the world outside is moving. So by having a cage around you, it gives you that illusion. You don't feel these movements, the world does, and it stops any discomfort that way. So there are a few options we can try. But even then, Windlands, I think, is surprisingly comfortable for the experience you get.
Yeah, I mean, it felt very comfortable for me when I was doing it. It didn't, as you said, it was very smooth. It didn't feel like I was going whiplash speed all of a sudden. Like, it felt like, as you said earlier, like, it felt very relaxing and calming rather than like a game like Mirror's Edge where it can feel very chaotic, it can feel very tense, it can feel very it can sort of push me a bit too much, and you know, that can add to like nauseous feelings. So yeah, I think it's kind of interesting that Windlands is a lot more calming, really. Yeah,
I think that was cool. I was gone flying for a second. One second, I'll pick up on it. Where did I go with that?
Do you want to go anywhere with it?
No, I won't. It's fine. We'll move on to the next one. It's okay.
With VR being a fledgling medium and three main headsets sort of dominating the sphere, like HTC Vive, Oculus Rift, and PSVR, each of them seem very expensive in nature. How has the high price of the headset affected development, such as like making sure that development costs are low enough, considering that sales might be lower than if it wasn't VR centered?
Sure, yeah. I mean, as an indie developer as well, we're obviously very aware of the sort of platforms that we have to reach and the audience, you know, that's out there. But because it's so exciting and new, and lots of people are very excited to get hold of it and get into it. There's actually a very, very passionate, you know, user base who are really into VR. They want to try a lot of new stuff. So you know, being there at the start is very important, and we feel that we've done, you know, we're really happy with how well Windlands has been received, and certainly we think that the PlayStation VR has got a lot of interest, and we're very excited to see where that goes. There are less AAA developers currently jumping in, and you can see why. It's a smaller audience currently, and that's because it's, like you say, it's new and it's cutting edge, and as such it's a little bit more expensive. It's the regular gaming platform. But that just means that for people like us, we've just got a little bit more,
Breathing space.
A medium within this flexible industry. So it's one of those swings and roundabout things where, as time goes on, there's going to be more users, more software, and it will just start, the momentum is building. And the one thing I hear most, about VR, especially when people, sort of say, what are your concerns and everything like that. People don't tend to say, this isn't very good. People don't say, I don't like this. I think it's rubbish. This is the gimmick. I mean, some people haven't tried it like that. If anyone who's tried it, typically said, this is great. I really I want this. And the big criticism is like, I can't afford it. So it's not this is rubbish. It's not this isn't good enough. I want it. I just can't have it yet. And in the same way, you might do a Tesla supercar. It's something you want, but you might not be able to get it just yet. Well, in time, prices come down. They become better, more powerful. And while it's starting off, it will get cheaper. It will, quickly become better and cheaper and build bigger and bigger.
Because you have a low audience base right now,
Yeah.
which may increase over time, but you have a small audience base right now that might affect the development budget and therefore affect development. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at the moment, obviously, while it's a small audience, you obviously don't want to spend, like 3 years in the inheritance, cost with a massive team. It naturally benefits smaller teams. And of course, as time goes on, as the platforms grow, as the audience grows, you can, as a developer, grow the team. And we've done that as well. We started off just with SciTech making Crystal Rift, just 2 of us, myself and John. And then as we went on with that game, we grew to a bigger team, and now it's like 14 of us working on Windlands.
Oh wow!
And that we hope for that to grow again, as we move forward as well.
You hope to sort of grow over time along with the VR medium.
Yeah, absolutely. At the same time, there's a benefit to staying quite nimble and small. You can, like you say, keep costs down. It just lets you do certain things. So yeah.
So when Windlands was first released, it was released only onto the Oculus and the Vive with I think the standalone was also out then at the time. Was there any development differences in terms of trying to get it to work with the Vive versus trying to get it to work with the Oculus?
So yeah, we were on the Rift and the Vive to begin with, 2 different platforms there, and then we're on the PSVR now. The good thing is we start off in Unity, which is a very nice platform-friendly engine, and then obviously we build on top of that and make our own kind of sub-engine and everything about that. So the differences come down to the different control schemes you might use. On the Vive, it sort of sticks with the touchpads. On the Rift, it's gamepad. PlayStation's gamepad. Obviously, on the Rift, there's going to be the touch controllers. Again, those are the sort of differences you have to kind of keep in mind and ensure everything's designed for. PlayStation has its own. Sony have their particular guidelines for what they need for a release, and that's another set of things that we have to get through. It's all about quality control from their point of view. There are certain things from that point of view that you want to ensure that you tailor to the platform. But as far as it goes, the game is identical. Across platforms, visually, like gameplay, everything else is very much the same. And even if you're using slightly different control schemes, there's slight idiosyncrasies that may be different, but generally it's the same, core experience.
I mean, would you be able to give an example of a sort of a difference that might have created a sort of problem or an issue or something, and how the game had to be like altered around it?
Sure, I mean, certainly between platforms, because there are differences, you do have to kind of pay attention to them and ensure that the game is fun and robust to kind of be able to cover those platforms. And there's nothing, I think there's anything significant, like no big problems that really caused any significant challenges as such.
So there wasn't anything that kind of needed to be tweaked very specifically for one of the headsets?
Only the control schemes, really. Yeah, no, in terms of the headsets, it's all pretty close in terms of what they can do. Certainly the PlayStation, when I first tried it, I think you think, oh, it's a console, maybe it's underpowered or something, but actually, like a Windlands especially, it's been a really great experience. It's a very, very good headset, and certainly visually, very, very little between all. No, I mean between all the headsets and the platform, it's very, very close in terms of experience.
Now it's being released onto PSVR. You were talking about there were particular guidelines that needed to be adjusted to make it work with the PlayStation 4. Would you be able to give any examples?
It's more like very technical QA things about the way certain things are sort of presented, like that. So there's nothing interesting about it.
Oh, fair enough.
Technical hoops it has to jump through.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks to. Yeah, thanks Nick for taking part in this interview.
That's okay. I hope everyone plays Windlands. buy a PSVR and buy Windlands. And thanks very much. And
No problem. Yeah, you can get Windlands. It's out now on Steam and PSVR soon.